buddy, Martyn at Flicking Feathers again today, and I'm tying a Bonefish Kwan. The Kwan's an excellent fly. It can be a good crab, shrimp, kind of mantis imitation. It's sort of multi-purpose. It'll work in a variety of locations, and although I'm tying a sort of bonefish size one, you can tie them bigger for redfish, other flat species as well. We'll eat them. So well worth having these in your box if you fish the saltwater flats. As always, I'll put a materials list in the description, along with a link to my Patreon page for anybody that wants to support the channel. Alternatively, you can subscribe, hit the bell button so you get notified of the new videos, share the videos, watch all the way to the end. All that helps the channel to grow. So I've put my hook in my vise. This is a size 6, it's a Gamakatsu SL11 3H, which is probably the best bonefish hook out really. And I've run on some of that light sort of shell pink Danvilles Flymaster Plus. And I'm just going to come up and put a wee, coming around the bend, putting a wee bump of thread. This is just a hot spot really, because this thread's fluorescent. And then what I'm going to do to separate it from like the rest of the dressing is put a whip finish in, purely so that if this exposed thread bursts, the fly won't unravel from behind. And I'm going to get a wee bit of head cement, just coat that. Use the needle. Make sure everything's covered, and that just gives you a wee bit of extra durability there. Now for the weight, I'm using a medium bead chain, but you can use lead or whatever, up to yourself. I'm going to tie it, I'm quite close to the front, you don't need a lot of space. And basically I'm just going to have enough room for my Weedguard and nothing else really. So make sure they're straight. And get them well locked in. Over and under. And then around the underside. Between the eye and the shank, and that'll tighten everything up. And then I'll come down here and get ready for my tail. By the time the tail's ready, that's varnish is dried. Just using a sand colour craft fur. Don't need a ton, just a reasonable bunch. Right. And you obviously, you've got to like scale it to the size of the fly. If you're tying a great big fly, then, and if you're tying like a 2.0 or something, like a great big one, you obviously need a heavier bunch. But on these wee ones, keep it nice and sparse. You know, don't go overboard. I'm just sort of realigning it. You don't really need extra select for a fly this size, so I've got, you know, you kind of get the taper down a bit, and I just want like that lit, just over a hook length, no more than that. So punch that in, take 2 or 3 turns just to hold it, and I'll take my waist. And often you see folk tying Kwans in videos and they'll just cut this square and lay a step. Don't do that. See, if you cut it at an angle like that, you'll get a nice sort of taper on the underbody, and it'll make it much easier when you go to tie your crab body, rather than try to have to negotiate the step. It'll just kind of smoothly go along. Even if you put a hackle on, well, you do put a hackle on, you're still sort of fighting to get rid of the bump. So I'm just coming back and tying that right up against that ball of thread. Now a wee bit of flash. I'm going to take a single strand of crystal flash and cut it in half. Put 2 strands down, 2 lengths down each side. That's plenty, right? I mean, I always say like you can add more and cut it off if you want, but like this will do you in most situations. Just take that along. Again, think about like having a taper. Then it will come on the other side, and you might actually find like the 4 that's too much and you take away a couple. From it when you're fishing, you know, if you sometimes you look at it and it just seems to pop too much, just cut one out. Hackle, I'm using this just like this is a cheap cape. But it's great for like crabs and all that. I always like kind of look in when I'm in this fly shop if they've got any of these Chinese or Indian necks, weird kind of farmyard chickens that are like nicely marked. I always just buy them because they're great for flats flies. I'm going to take a feather with a decent length of fibre. And you can see the colour change, right? It goes for like nearly white, kind of into the grey and the tan, kind of tan grizzle there. Ideal. A great crab claw as well. And cheap too. You know, this is maybe like a £5, like this neck. Just tie that in by the tip. Take away the waste. I'm just going to wind it, just a turn in front of there, just fold it back as you go, take touching wraps. Just get this in. I mean, I'm not super fussy because I'm going to tie back, so I'll just come right down until I get into that colour change. When the stem starts thickening up, it doesn't want to flex. You'll feel where the stem wants to sort of resist you, and that's just before it becomes brittle. And you just tie it off. And I like to just sweep all this back and tidy up the tie back. And I like to come back to nearly the barb, right? Something like that's fine. And then again, I'll just tidy that up. And you can see, hopefully, that my underbody's nicely tapered. Because I cut the craft fur at a taper, I took that crystal flash quite far along and back, and then the last bit's just this wee run up into the hackle. Nice and smooth. Now, I'm going to come through the eyes again, as I always like to do. I say this a lot, like this really solidifies the eyes, right? Once you've got this grip, you know, and the thread's all gripped on the shank a couple of times up and down. It's really very strong, much stronger than glue, right? I mean, that you can see I'm like moving the hook there. They're solid. And I'll cement everything. I'll come right along at this stage. Right. Head cement's your friend. Right, it's no a sign of being a poor fly tire. You're just adding durability into the fly. Right, that'll take away any excess, but that soaks in. You let it cure. I'm tying this just a single colour of I'm using sparkle yarn. You can use EP fibre, a lot of people do. Up to yourself. I like the sparkle yarn. I like the look of it in the water. I like the density of it. And it's very manageable when you're tying it in. Right, that's another advantage of it. I've got a few strands there. And just keep them twisted together, makes them nice and easy to deal with. Just take a loose wrap, another, and then I'll just shunt that back so it's right against the hackle. You'll see it's trying to rotate on me, but that's because I've only got one direction. You put that second one in, it'll be nice and straight, and you can still pull it and adjust it. Nothing's really locked in yet. That's 3 and 3. Take another one each way. Pull it back, and then come in and tie up against it, and that tightens that down and locks everything in. Right. And it's just a case of repeating this process down the shank. And I like to come basically right down to the eye. I like to pack as many as I can in. You can tie your crab or your yarn body on the underside. A lot of people don't like that, but the fly will flip better if you tie it this way in the hook gap, even with a light weight like just these bead chain. So that's it, 4 either way, pull them back, come in. Three, other direction, 1, 2, 3. Oh, another one, another X just to make sure. Put it back, lock it in. Same again. I mean, they're repetitive, but they're no difficult. And you can see when you use a sparkle yarn, you're never fighting it in that way that you're with EP sometimes trying to get in between the bunches. It just goes because the bunches are twisted together. Tie right up against it, lock it in. Pull them back. I can get one more in there, I think. Yes. It can be a wee bit fiddly right in at the bead chain, but I'd rather pack them in than leave the space. But the same thing, just lock that. That's good. Weedguard. Got some £20 hard nylon. I like the prong, the double prong. If you like a single, that's fine. Different folk have got different preferences, but I like the double prong. I think it's a very good weed and coral guard for a flats fly. So just pinch that to flatten it, fold it over. Just because I've tied the bead chain quite close to the hook eye, having the flat spot in the mono gives you a smaller, neater tie in when it's close like that. So 1, 2, 3, then the other 3, 3 in front, 3 behind. Pull them down, and we're going to turn it back this way so I can see. Figure 8 through, just make sure they're standing up and separate. Whip finish, and again. Rock solid. Right, Your Weedguard standing up nice. Just come in and cut them. Trim away the thread. And then it's just a case of trimming. I really like to trim these in my hand rather than on the vise. But I'll try to show you. The angle, some folk like them quite wide. I tend to prefer it a wee bit sort of narrower. Just cut it like kind of wedge shape. And I like to sort of just angle up from the eye, whatever the dumbbell or the Beadchain is. Something like that. Don't be super fussy, because when you hit it, when you brush these bits of yarn out, you'll notice that the shape will sort of change slightly. You might need to give it another trim, but get it roughly there. So there's my shape. Then just come in and fuzz it up with the Velcro. You'll see you'll sort of soften the edge, which is nice, but you also get you'll pull out a few kind of longer strands that will need a wee tidy up. Like that there, see, so you can just come in. And as I said, sometimes you will adjust the shape slightly. Then the last thing is just to get some cement on this, and I just cover the entire bottom side. Use head cement. It soaks in, it cures. Oops, don't drop the bottle. Then also do the figure 8 X wraps at the top there. Got a very tough fly, it'll last you loads of bonefish. Last thing I'll do is just put a wee barring on it, and I'll just use the tip of my brown Sharpie. Keep it sparse, keep it fine. I like on these wee ones. I don't want a big heavy bar. Something like that's fine, and you don't even need to be too fussed about getting all the way through to the bottom. Just the suggestions enough. You can roll it to set the ink, and that's it. There you go. So hope that was useful. Hope you enjoyed it. Bonefish Kwan, excellent fly. Not just for bonefish, you know. As I say, redfish, trevally, eat them anywhere where there's crabs and mantis, shrimp and things about that fish are on a slightly bigger profile. This is a good fly to have in your box. So, tight lines guys, I'll see you for another one.